23 years ago, the Green Bay Packers took wide receiver Javon Walker out of Florida State in the first round. That was the last time the Packers took a first-round receiver until right now. They took Matthew Golden in this year's NFL draft. Got Dalton Wasserman here to break it down. So, Dalton, why was Matthew Golden a player worthy of breaking a 2-decade-long streak?
So it's all about speed, and it's all about the Packers trying to get a vertical threat that they didn't necessarily have when Christian Watson was hurt, and they were missing last year, right? Jordan Love is a vertical passer. They want him to be a more vertical passer, and it's also so Matthew Golden can open up some underneath windows for him and take those safeties out, because when those safeties are sitting in the box, those windows get a lot tighter, right? Everything gets a lot tighter for Jordan Love, and he can't be quite as efficient underneath. So there's a couple of elements that go into this with Matthew Golden, but it's about 4.29 speed, right, that he showed us in the combine, and it's about the deep receiving ability that he showed us at Texas. You see here, 99.6 deep receiving grade, 20-plus yards last season at Texas, one of the best marks in the country. 8th in the country in deep receptions, receiving yards, top 15, 59.1% deep completion rate. That's really good when you're talking about those balls over 20 yards. So when you're digging into, okay, why Matthew Golden, the obvious part first is the 4.29 speed. So when we look at this on the field, we're going to go back to a Texas game early last year. I'm not just doing the Arch Manning propaganda here, but he's going to be throwing the football. But this is what I'm talking about. When you say, okay, what does Matthew Golden do to threaten safeties, to threaten defenses vertically, right? So what we're looking at with Texas, up top, all right, we're going to get this corner on the bottom, working back to a deep quarter. Same thing with this safety. This safety's getting over the top. And we're going to get this over the top, and we're going to get out here, sitting in the flat. Okay, it's a rotation out there towards Isaiah Bond because he's another speed threat up top. So up here, we're going to get it deep out, and you're going to get everything focused that way. What you have down here, here's Golden right in here. He's going to work this outside a bit, and he's going to get to the deep post, further, more vertical than that, but we'll get there on the next slide. And then you're going to get my other receiver here sitting down to see if we can get this safety to sit and get Golden into this grass over the top. All right, it's simple. We got a bunch of fast guys on the field. We're going to use that speed to our advantage to get vertical. Now, when you talk about here, this is exactly what I'm getting at. Golden, we get the outside release, he's got a step. When we're getting at, okay, especially beating zone coverage is an old phrase we use for receivers, Max, especially with speed. If he's even, he's leaving. That looks pretty even to me right there, okay, if you're Matthew Golden. The other thing that Arch Manning back here, again, not just doing the Arch Manning propaganda, but he knows how to play quarterback. There's a phrase that I think we should start using with Matthew Golden in particular. Here's my receiver here sitting down in the curl, right in the middle of the field. Now, what I'm looking at is this safety here, sitting down on that curl to leave that space behind the defense in for Golden. I think a new phrase I'm going to start using. If the safety's holding, I'm Golden. See that?
Like that.
Gotta love that, right, with the speed. And this is the way that Jordan Love's going to have to think about it in Green Bay. If those safeties sit at all and they're on their heels, flat-footed like that, and the corner is going to be even, he runs a 4.29. He's gone. Prime example, now we're going to get it on this play. If I can get this to move here. There we go. Even, he's got to step on him. Arch actually underthrows this ball a little bit, but also tiny bit underthrown. That's a guy that runs a 4.2. You get a big 45, 50-yard play out of it, right? That's the type of speed that you're talking about. And it only takes one mistake from a safety to make a big play like this happen. Let's go back to the big famous play in the Arizona State game, right? 4th and 13, playoff hopes, national championship hopes on the line. But it's going to be a similar concept, right? Down here on the bottom, up top, we've got a vertical. Okay, that's cool. We're taking that side. Down here, look, we've got 3-on-2. And all we're trying to do, again, is get Golden to bend out here, get the corner to move outside, leverage a little bit, and get to the deep post, right? This receiver, we get that stacked alignment, no motion this time. He's going to sit in here, and then he's actually going to break this out. A little different variation that we have. But the entire point, again, is this safety, okay? If he's sitting and we drive this corner to the outside, there's all your space. You can see it pre-snap, right? And this is 4th and 13. Everyone in the building knows Texas has to throw vertically for them to tie up this ball game. You get to the next part of this. Again, same principle, right? This safety is sitting. There he is. If the safety's holding, what are we, Max?
We're Golden.
We're Golden. Here we go. He's even. He's leaving. Safety's holding. We're Golden. That's simple. We're trying to tie up a playoff game. touchdown. That's what the speed brings you when you talk about, okay, beating safeties over the top. He gets on those corners that fast. He gets over the top. It opens up everything else. So at that point, then you're talking about safeties have to respect his speed over the top because you can't just get beat with home runs like that. And we know Jordan Love has plenty enough arm to make this happen, right? To make all of these throws happen on any given play, especially with all the play action that Matt LaFleur has.
I know this is one of the reasons why I love the Matthew Golden fit in Green Bay, because right now Green Bay Packers, they kind of lack speed in their receiving core right now. So Dalton, obviously 4.29 speed, very obvious Matthew Golden. What else, though, does he provide this Green Bay Packers offense?
So I talked about this on draft night when I mentioned, okay, yes, Golden has the speed and he can do the things I just showed you. But those, especially in the NFL, they don't come around all the time. You have to pick your spots with that. And one thing where Jordan Love concerned me last year was the bad habits that he picked up, trying to take too many of those shots. Something he did in that hot stretch from week 9 to the end of the season in 2023 when he looked like a top 5 quarterback was threatening those safeties with those deep shots and then throwing back underneath them in those intermediate windows. We're going to do a little bit of a comparison here, right? That, when I say 2023 hot streak, that's the second half. That's week 9 and beyond and into the playoffs where he was really good. And that was the difference, is that he didn't hit all the home runs. He hit all those plays underneath the safeties that eventually created those home runs. Look what we're talking about in that stretch. 20% of his throws in the intermediate range from 10 to 19 yards. 2024, that went down to 16%, wasn't even in the top 32 quarterbacks, 39th. When we're talking about qualified quarterbacks, that's darn near at the very bottom, right? 92.2 intermediate passing grade in that stretch. Why? Because safeties are getting threatened with Christian Watson or Jaden Reed or whoever may be running over the top, and he's throwing in those windows underneath. This past year, this is for the entire season, 35th in intermediate passing grade. Only 32 guys can start any given week. So when you talk about that intermediate passing, and what eventually creates that balance of moving safeties back and forth, this is what Love wasn't doing. In part, yes, were the receivers partially at fault? Yeah, they weren't separating as well as the year before. But there was a part of it that was just a lack of patience. So what we're going to go over, here's a play from 2023. We're going to do a couple from 2023 that he did it right, looking in those intermediate windows. And then we're going to look at a couple where, okay, now he's forcing it this year. You can see a clear, tangible difference. Here's what we're going to have here on this play. This is late in the year against the Giants, all right? We're going to get a play action running this way, all right? Jaden Reed, he's going to come down here, get vertical. We're going to get a vertical route right across here to the post, and then a concept I absolutely love. We're going to get, I believe this is Romeo Doubs, in here on a deep end, okay? What you're going to see, you can see it. It's pretty obvious. We've got one high safety, and what's going to happen is all Jordan Love has to do is obviously read the linebackers and the flow with the play action, but he's just got to read this safety. If he's going to stay high and go to the post, fine, we rip it underneath. If it's the other way and he drives down, then I've got to throw over the top. It's very simple. We've talked about similar concepts before that are high-low. Now, we go to the next one. You can see it already. You can see it right here. The first place that Love has to look, and you can see in his eyes the first place his drop where he's going to go is this free safety right back here. High and low, that's all we're looking for. The other thing you'll see, because of the play action, look at these linebackers here. Look at them stepping up. See that? Eyes in the backfield, you can see the void already. These are the throws, and Love made this throw right into this window for a big play. These are the throws that Love was making consistently down the stretch of 2023. If the safeties sit back, don't try to force the football to them. Just throw it right into these windows. Boom. First down. Another example. Here we are against Pittsburgh. This is one where they mess with the look a little bit, right? We've got linebackers down here looking like they're going to blitz. We've got this weird look up top where we kind of have 5 in the secondary. What's going on here? But realistically, it's the same concept. And what you're going to get from Pittsburgh's defense, they're actually going to drop into a version of kind of a Tampa 2 here, a 2 lurk with this guy already sitting deep. So he's going to sit, he's either going to sit right about here, or if something goes vertical right down the seam, he's going to go with it. Now, the idea behind this, again, is the same. I'm not even going to worry about this down at the bottom. That's just a runoff. The idea here, again, we're going to get a runoff right in through here. We're going to get a dig right in through here. Similar thing. Again, this Tampa safety, they're going to read him high and low. If he wants to run with it, cool. If he wants to sit, we'll throw it right over his head. Where does he go? Right here. Starts turn and run. What does that mean? Even without play action, all Jordan Love has to do is anticipate and get in this window right here, because you're only reading one defender. Again, we've got 3 back deep here. Okay, throw it right underneath him. take what the defense gives you. It's that simple, right? And the fact that we've seen him do this before obviously gives you hope that he could do this again. When he was doing this on a consistent basis, like these two plays, he was one of the best quarterbacks in football. No question. Last year, he stopped doing this. Here's my examples now. Here we go. We're going against Detroit here. Big game, obviously the Lions, division rival. We're going to get this curl down here solo on the bottom. Now, again, you're going to get a choice. I'm looking at this safety this time, all right? You've got that safety. Christian Watson, the speedster, right? That might be getting replaced here by Matthew Golden. He's going to try to take that over the top. And then we've got a couple of in cuts and kind of a follow concept up here, all right? That's all that's going to happen. Detroit, look at them. They're already 4 deep. They're sitting back. They know they're sitting back. Everything about this defense should say, hey, they're in quarters. They're going to sit back. Take what the defense gives you. Moving on. Right, you can see it right here. He's looking in that direction. He's looking high-low all the way out here at this safety, right? You see Watson getting over the top, but look at all the attention paid to Watson, right? Double, 2 safeties moving back. Okay, so immediately the alarm bells should be going off. All right, I got to get underneath somewhere. Kind of covered here, but we can go, if we anticipate it right, and he throws this ball right now, you've got space here to rip this curl. Wicks can get back to the football. Obviously, he struggled catching the football, and that's another part of this from last year is there was a clear lack of trust from Jordan Love in throwing this ball to a Dontavian Wicks, who had one of the highest drop rates in the league. It's a lack of trust, a lack of separation. You see there up top, but the throw is still there. What does Love do instead? He waits and he waits and he waits instead of throwing this curl. He tries to throw this crosser open all the way over here, 4.5 seconds into the play. Safety gets to it because he's late, breaks it up, right? That's the type of patience I'm looking for him to have. I got one more for you. Same thing. This is actually the very last throw of his season. So this is something that was happening from the very beginning of the year all the way to the very end. And look, I know they're down 2 scores. I know there's 2 minutes to go. This is that interception late in the game when you're talking about, okay, but they're still in Eagles territory and miracles happen. Okay, keep your team in the game. You don't have to force it, right?
This is the wild card round, right?
This is the wild card round. This is the very last throw of Jordan Love's season against Philadelphia here. So what you have, we're going to stay in here with this tight end. We're going to get this kind of half roll. I'm not sure what's going on there and why we're going half roll. But either way, the idea is, again, we're getting across the field, threatening safeties vertically. We've got this vertically. And then down here, got this deep curl that's going to sit right in there. That's what's going to happen. And again, the Eagles sitting back too high. They're up 2 scores with not much time left. I get it. You need a home run ball, but this wasn't the time to take the shot. Look at it right again here. This is even worse than the first one. Love is going to force this ball right back here where there's 2 and even 3 guys that are locked in on this deep post. You just can't do it even in these circumstances because look, here's the chain. Here's my wide open curl. Just take what the defense gives you. And I know, again, this one's harder because situationally, but look, you can see him already loading up. He was throwing that ball before it was even snapped. He knew where he was going with this ball before it was even snapped. I think what Matthew Golden can do, on top of the element of giving you the deep shots, right, and the completions, the deep completions, is this. Because if you have Matthew Golden, those 3 guys, they might be paying attention to him with the 4.2 speed, right? You might get doubles and triple teams down the field. Jordan Love will be the most successful if he just takes these. Because what happens then, if you take enough of those as the course of a game goes on, they start creeping up. You don't get linebackers. That's a linebacker bailing. They don't start creeping up, right? And then you get safeties, and you're playing that game where it's, okay, if the safeties are staying flat, if they're holding, what are we?
We're golden.
We're golden. If the safeties are holding, we're golden. If not, then you throw it underneath, and you get back to the good habits. With Jordan Love, it's all about habits. You're going to hear me say it all year. These are the habits that he needs to get back to, is making those throws underneath those safeties so then we can then hit home runs.
And our CEO, Chris Collinsworth, on the NFL Draft Show even said that 4.29 speed is very valuable for an offense, not only when the receiver is targeted, but even as a decoy, right? And like I mentioned before, the Packers really lack that kind of speed in their receiving corps. So yes, Matthew Golden, very talented receiver. He was worthy of being a top 25 pick in the NFL draft. But for Green Bay specifically, as Dalton just pointed out, this is an excellent pick for them because it provides a different element that they very much need in their receiving corps.